Sam Pittman had a good week. How about him? Barely escaping state the week before, beating LSU in overtime, and he took the famous boot trophy, the Golden Boot, and showed it off. It's in the lobby right now, and everybody can get a look. The amount of great games this weekend is somewhat limited, but I do want to ask you about the Arkansas program. Sam Pittman, 2 weeks in a row, you've seen them recently, a dynamic win for that program. May not be pretty, but it doesn't matter. They take out Alabama right now with a lot of momentum. What do you think about this Arkansas program?
I mean, Arkansas is a dangerous team, right? A really dangerous team. And I mean, for this Alabama game as well, if there's one thing that you look back this year and say, what's the biggest difference between this Alabama team and maybe Alabama teams of past? This Alabama team can get pushed around up front. This Alabama team can be out-physicaled on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And we're not used to seeing that from an Alabama team. You're used to seeing maybe a scheme or a dynamic first-round type quarterback that can have some success against an Alabama team through the air, lighten it up. This is an Arkansas team that's going to play bully ball. They're going to come in, they're going to be physical up front. So Alabama's going to have to prove what they didn't against Florida, that they could stop a team that just is going to be content with punching you in the mouth, down after down, with a physical quarterback. 3 running backs that are going to be physical, an offensive line that's going to be dirty, and they're going to make this their type of game. So Sam Pittman, I think, is the perfect, really, example of maybe what Dan Mullen needs to do for his coordinating hire. Sam Pittman went and got a coordinator completely out of his comfort zone. Completely out of his comfort zone. Ran a scheme out of his comfort zone. Coaches out of his comfort zone, leaning on analytics and taking chances. That's not Sam Pittman. But he said, hey, I need something that's going to complement what I do best, which is be physical, which is coach and motivate. And he did. And he's got a team right now that is scary to play on both sides of the football with what Barry Odom is doing on defense as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Is Alabama a better team? Yeah, they are. But can Arkansas make this their type of game and take it into the second half? They got a chance to, so it'll be interesting to see how Alabama responds in the trenches especially.
See, Alabama and Arkansas clash this weekend. It's a game in July probably none of us gave a lot of thought to, but suddenly it looks very interesting. What do you think?
It is, Paul, and if you look at Arkansas last year, now people will look at the final score, and they'll look at just how one-sided that game got inevitably on the scoreboard. But if you really go down to it and you dive a little deeper into the numbers, now part of it had to do with when it was played. It was moved, it was rescheduled. There were some issues with playing the game. It was very cold when the game took place, but they actually were one of the few teams that actually played well against Alabama offensively. Mac Jones didn't have a touchdown pass in that game, which is crazy to think when you look at the numbers he put up. It was his worst passing performance of the year. So there is something to obviously take into account with what Barry Odom does from a stylistic standpoint, and they're going to make life a little difficult on Alabama if they can't successfully run the football. So I thought last weekend was a little bit of a ho-hum effort from Arkansas, albeit in a win. Hey, win's a win, take it. But that's a depleted LSU team that played their Super Bowl the week before. I thought Arkansas would win that game a little more convincingly than they did. Now, look, they ultimately got it done. You got to give them tremendous credit for that. They won a rivalry game, and Sam Pittman and his boys deserve a ton of credit for that. But they're going to have to ramp it up another level this week, obviously, against Alabama, who's going to be told all week long by Nick Saban, hey, these guys played well against you last year. Don't let it happen again. So Alabama will be ready. I think Arkansas will be ready. And it should be one of the more entertaining games, hopefully, on the weekend on the SEC slate, because it's not the best weekend, Paul, when it comes to SEC football.
No, it's
Alabama had 2 significant injuries on Saturday. Sophomore running back Rodell Williams suffered a knee injury that requires surgery. Williams' injury leaves Alabama with just 2 healthy scholarship running backs. That's Brian Robinson and Trey Sanders. Remember, Jace McClellan was lost for the season to injury last month. And also wide receiver JoJo Earl. He does not need surgery, but will be out for a week or 2.
Challenged the players last week to go out and play with a lot of positive energy, and I really liked the way the players did that. The execution was not always perfect, but it was certainly improved. And I was really pleased with the way our players responded. I think we need to build on that. I think how you finish is most important this time of year, how you dictate tempo, the energy you play with, how you prepare. All those things are critical to how you play. And I think our players, hopefully are going to respond the right way. It's our last game in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That's been a great atmosphere to play in, and it's certainly needed to be that way for this game. These guys, try to go fast. They're a tempo team. I think that any way that we can affect them, obviously, is going to be a benefit, to our players. Sam Pittman has done a fantastic job, I think, with this team in the 2 years that he's been there. They're probably has improved as much from last year to this year as, anybody in the country. They've had some great wins over, some very good SEC teams. And they got really good players. They play well together. They play winning football. They're very effective at running the ball on offense. They don't turn it over. They get off the field on third down. They play good pass defense. They've got good specialists. They really do a good job all the way around. So we're going to have to be at our best and certainly prepare that way this week, for this game. I can't speak for everybody else, but our situation here is, we've always had a number of players go out for the draft early. In most cases, rightfully so. So that minimizes the maturity and age of your team, to some degree. But, I think probably, I don't know, with the transfer rules being like they are, you're going to see more players that are older players who don't see an opportunity to play the kind of role that they'd like to play. Maybe look for a place that they can go. So that may, affect all of us in terms of how many older players we can keep on our team.
Got the boot,
They got
Spencer.
the boot, baby! The golden boot. We have an amazing game, 16-13. Yeah, it was low scoring. Yeah, it was a struggle. Was it something deeply felt on the part of the Arkansas Razorbacks? You're right. They put that thing in the lobby.
God, that was huge.
That's a weapon.
Well, once Mo picked the second, he picked it down there in the end. We were just trying to get a few more yards and then put it in the middle because we got Mr. Automatic back there, and man, did he do a nice job. The guy's got ice water, man. For a young guy, did a heck of a job.
How about Cam Little, Spencer? We talked a lot about kickers last week. We gave him a lot of stick.
Yeah.
Cam Little, the
Time for
hero this week.
Time for some carrot.
That's how it works, right?
Right. It wasn't just the kick, though, by the way. We don't just discuss kickers as athletes. You're not just pieces of meat for our entertainment. No, you are entertainers. People with souls who give us things like, for instance, the sight of a relatively tiny kicker doing the gritty on
put the gritty
LSU
on him.
field.
Put the gritty on him. Hold on now.
Oh.
That is a young man who understands time and place. It's impressive.
Oh, the timing, the placement, the execution, it's a respectable version of the dance, dare I say, and also doing this for the first time in a long time for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas, to me, by the way, I know they had a midseason slump. Had they have recovered brilliantly from that?
What we love about Cam Little, besides the dance moves, is obviously he's a nice guy. Remember last week? Remember last week, the Mississippi State game? He goes and he puts his arm around the Mississippi State
That's
kicker
right.
that missed the game-winning kick because kickers are in a fraternity. That is so nice.
Yeah.
That is the empathy right there.
Like, again, this is a theme, containing multitudes, people of depth, okay? Offering a consoling arm and words to another kicker.
2-minute drill? Nah. How about 25 seconds, Spencer?
That's all we need if we're going to do it. Going to LSU, Arkansas. What can you do in 25 seconds? Well, you can win a football game.
If you're losing a football game by 6 points with 34 seconds left and you have the ball on your own 19-yard line, chances are you're probably going to take the L. But every once in a while, the magic of college football appears to give us an ending for the ages. It's the 2002 Arkansas LSU game with 34 seconds left. And things aren't looking so great for the Razorbacks as they're down by 6 points with a long 80 yards in front of them. Now here's where it gets interesting. Arkansas quarterback Matt Jones has all day to throw, and he's one down the field that's caught at the 30-yard line with 26 seconds to go. If only field goal range was good enough. No, the Razorbacks have to try and get it in the end zone. After an incomplete pass, Matt Jones and the 2002 Arkansas football team go down in history. Who said driving 80 yards in 25 seconds was hard?
Again, it's about efficiency. Not here for a long time.
Nope.
Here for a good time. Simple as that.
Nothing else better describes the Matt Jones experience at quarterback for Arkansas. Not a long time, but a very good time. Slept on in the annals of SEC history, in my opinion.
Jacksonville Jaguars legend, by the way. Don't disrespect him.
You were in Tuscaloosa last week, and the game notwithstanding, just your assessment of this Alabama team at this point in the season, what you saw and what your concerns are.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that they had some real concerns coming at LSU. Chief among those, the offensive line play, which I do think a lot of it was owing to, you see an injury to Dalcourt at center, and we act like, it's just one position. No, that necessitated a double switch. So now your right tackle has to go to center. Well, now somebody has to go into right tackle. And that disrupted a lot of the things that they do up front. I think that they can get that fixed. I think they will get that fixed just from a protection standpoint. Defensively, I think that, a lot of conversation about the Georgia defense, justifiably so, and they've got great players. But I think maybe the best defensive player, Jordan Davis is a really good one, but the one that can change a game, that make a game-changing type play, plays for the Alabama Crimson Tide and Anderson. I mean, the kid he can do about whatever it is that you want him to do. And at 245 pounds, 250 pounds, the fact that he can line up down the middle of an offensive tackle and play run, just stack him up at the line of scrimmage and shed the block without conceding any ground, and then also sprint off the edge out of a two-point stance and bend that edge short to where he's rounding the corner or spinning back underneath and pressuring the passer as well as he does, you're watching him and you're going, this guy's an every down player. He's got all the tools that you would want, and he uses them really, really well. And if they get healthy on the other side, I don't know if Christopher Allen's going to come back, but if he does, then that changes things for them as well. The defense, they look good. Of course they would look good. It was against a team that they were intended to look good against. But I do think some of the difficulties they had versus LSU were circumstantial and owing to the disruption to their personnel, especially along that offensive front. It made it an uglier game than I think it otherwise would have been.
And Arkansas travels to Alabama in this week's marquee matchup in the SEC. The Tide have won all 14 games against the Razorbacks since Nick Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa. But this year, the Hogs have already won as many games as they did in the previous 3 seasons combined. Time now to go inside the SEC, brought to you by Auto Owners Insurance with Coach Saban and Pittman.
Sam Pittman has done a fantastic job, I think, with this team in the 2 years that he's been there. They're probably has improved as much from last year to this year as anybody in the country. They've had some great wins over some very good SEC teams.
We're excited to head to Alabama, play the CBS national game. We know they have an outstanding team, and of course then you get to Coach Saban, who obviously is the best coach in the nation and has been for a long time. So very, very big challenge for us. We're excited that's going to be an afternoon game and excited to go to Alabama.
And for Arkansas, we said earlier, does Arkansas have a chance? They absolutely do. And everybody always gets something different versus Alabama. Alabama knows going into their matchups, they're not going to play us the way they've played everybody else.
Agreed.
So the film kind of lies a little bit. So they're going to have to be ready for things that they haven't necessarily seen on film. That makes it tough on Alabama, especially when you've got, however many games now. We got 9-10 games into the season, plus some of the things that Arkansas is going to incorporate from other teams that have had success versus Alabama. And I think that they'll be capable of doing that. That's what it's going to take for this to be a close football game.
That was one of the things we were at Bama this weekend that Pete Golding was like, sometimes it takes us a few minutes to figure out exactly what adjustments we need to make, because you can't go on the tape from last week or even the week before, because your opponent is watching everything anyone who's ever had success against you is doing, and they try to recreate
Not only that, but they do it and they build it in different formations. They're going to motion to it. They're not just going to line up in it so you know exactly what it is. They're going to motion. They're going to shift. Then they're going to do another thing. And that is how they confuse. And all they want is just a second to give give them some sort of advantage. Arkansas, defensively, I'm really looking forward to what they do. Barry Odom did a great job against LSU last week. He went all in. He played a lot more man than what they normally do. They're normally a zone front team. Instead, they played all man-to-man in the back half, dared LSU to beat them by picking the ball up and took away all the running lanes. Alabama has to have an answer for this going forward. Texas A&M has done it and showed that that's the way to be successful versus Alabama. LSU recreated it, and every other team going forward will do the same thing. Alabama has to find a way to get the run game going if they want to get teams to back off of them and now allow them to be able to be successful throwing the football. It starts with the run game.
Yeah, I think that's actually what Arkansas is going to challenge Alabama to do. Run the football on us.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you kill us fast because we know you can do that. Jamison Williams, quietly one of the most explosive players in the country.
Yep.
And I think that Arkansas coming into this game, they might say, hey, I tell you what, run it against us. Let's see if you can establish that first, because at the very least, we will leak yards and points slower potentially that way than if you just give up in the pass.
And they also did a great job of it last year, keeping everything in front of them when Mac Jones and Najee Harris are putting up thousands of points. They said no, and actually Devontae Smith punt return is what blew the game open. So special teams may be another thing.
How much time does the Arkansas staff spend game planning for Will Anderson and just Will Anderson?
You better.
Keep him out
Before
of the
you draw up
backfield.
any play, you better figure out who's blocking 31.
Where's 31?
Block him.
Throw some bodies at
Number
him.
3, let's see where he is. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Boss Hog.
Number 3. Going into this preseason, everybody talked about how hard Arkansas' schedule was. Number 1 ranked in terms of difficulty in all of the country. And all they've done was wipe out Texas, continue to go on. They're at 7 wins right now. And who is to say that Arkansas would have 7 wins at this point in the season, knowing how hard this schedule was preseason?
Yeah, ran right through the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And now they got, pretty big one this weekend versus Alabama, right? But he's got these guys believing. I don't know if
That's
they
all
got
that
enough
matters.
belief.
And they're doing it out my boy Jalen Catalon as well.
Yeah.
So defensively, they're still finding ways to win.
Going
And
bowling, any coach who goes to a bowling alley and buys a
point.
ball for $20 is
Larry.
in my book. Yeah.
Larry the bowling ball.
All right, one more time. Why not? Again, it's too much fun.
go.
All right, here we go. Team A, Team B. All right, these teams are both 9-1. Okay, Team A, though, they lost against a squad ranked in the top 10. Both are 6-1 against top 50 teams. Both have top 3 resumes, according to our strength of record metric. Team B just ahead of Team A. This one's interesting. Okay. All right, Luke's, you want to take this one?
I'm just going to go ahead and call it what it is. This is Notre Dame Team A and Wake Forest Team B. Prove me wrong, Des.
Oh.
I'm with you. I'm thinking the same exact thing because they had one loss against a top 10 team, and that would be Cincinnati. So I'm thinking Team A is Notre Dame too. We're on the same page, Lugs.
That's right.
All right. Are we? The question is, are you on the right page? That's a better question.
Ooh, Alabama. I didn't say Alabama, but I did say Notre Dame.
You got Notre Dame right, but
I
Team B,
bypassed the strength of
Alabama,
record.
which, listen, they have maintained the second spot in each of the first 3 rankings. I don't know if you two could be on the committee or not, fellas. I'm not so sure. We better keep our day jobs. But
you about to cause a lot of problems with that list right there. You're causing some problems.
Desmond, why not stir the pot? What else we got to do today?
Alabama State at number 2, but if you were listening closely, Gary Barta, the chair of the committee, said there's a lot of discussion about 2 through 4. So I'm going to ask Heather the question first and watch Paul's face as she answers it. Does Alabama need to win out, Heather, to get into the playoff?
Well, I think his comments yesterday prove that Alabama might not be as secure at number 2 as we might think. And the other part of that is if Alabama does lose to Georgia, we've all been talking about how it is a realistic possibility that they could get in as a 2-loss team that doesn't win its championship. But can they? Based on Gary's comments yesterday? I think it depends on what happens in the other Power 5 conference championship games. You can't answer it in a vacuum. But the fact that 2, 3, and 4 were more closely discussed this week than any other leads me to believe that Alabama might have some concerns.
Paul, it's fascinating. We sort of parse the words the way we do when the Fed chair speaks about what might happen to interest rates. What do you think about the Alabama of it all? Does Nick have to win out to get in?
I don't want Gary Barta to replace Jerome Powell as Fed chairman because the markets would be in total chaos because he said, and now he didn't say this specifically, but the interpretation, Greedy, is that the games really don't matter. Other than the games, he said, we think this team is better than that. I don't think Alabama is getting in unless we see the greatest football game of all time. It goes into quadruple overtime and Georgia wins on some freak play. I think if you lose 2 games within the SEC, and they would have lost at Texas A&M in the championship game, even Gary Barta would be hard-pressed to put them in.
Again, once you get deep in a hole, you start doing all these things to fix it, but that's a time when it's almost too late. And you have to make those moves before the writing is completely on the wall. And I think, looking at the guy in Alabama, Nick Saban has done a great job over his career of making moves before he has to, and that's why he's been able to maintain success. And I think Dan did not do that, and that's why he's in the position he's in right now.
Let me close with the Alabama situation because they're number 2 in the country. It seems like a down season. They still have a chance to win it all. Give us the lay of the land where you are, right in the center of Alabama.
I think it's a mix of, confidence and panic. I think especially that LSU game had a mix of that, of people, thinking we're not even going to make the SEC championship game. Like, this team is terrible. Like, what's going on with it? And, I can understand those feelings, but it's also like you said, they're still the number 2 team in the country. They still rank very highly in most of the important statistics offensively and defensively. It's just that everything is going to get compared to the past. And, last year's Alabama team was so good, one of the greatest in college football history, that by comparison, this team is obviously not up to that level. Now, I think they should win this weekend against Arkansas. I don't think it's going to be the easiest game, but I think on paper they should win. You face Auburn at Auburn. That's always tricky, but they're going to be without Bo Nix. You think they should win that game, and then it comes to the SEC championship game against Georgia. Are they able to do enough to beat a defense that's been incredible? We've seen some real running issues for Alabama between the offensive line and the lack of running back depth. I have a lot of questions about whether this Alabama team can run the ball against Georgia. And if they can't, that puts a lot of pressure on Bryce Young and a receiving corp that's, Jameson Williams is great. John Mechie's okay. There's not a ton of depth behind those 2 guys either. And so there's just not the talented depth we've seen in past years with this Alabama team. I think it's why people continue to have questions about whether they can, beat a number 1 team like Georgia.
We begin a new hour with one of our favorite coaches, Coach Sam Pittman of the University of Arkansas. And we'll save what's ahead in a couple of days for later. But, Coach, congratulations. I don't know what your anxiety level must be like, but these last 2 games probably aged you a couple of years.
Man, they did. I think you can see it, a little bit, Paul. But, coming back with the 2-minute drive against Mississippi State, and then, being able to get it into overtime at Death Valley and able to win the game. Just been 2 really good wins for University of Arkansas and our football program.
Coach, it's always cliche. You hear coaches, especially at the point where you're sitting 2 years into a program, try to win the little ones. And we know last year some of those got away, but what does it do to the overall psyche of a program when you can 2 weeks in a row win 2 games that obviously could have gone the other way?
Yeah, I think it says something for recruiting. I think it obviously helps there where, you can say you beat, you're starting to beat some of the premier, the upper level teams of the SEC. I think that obviously helps. And then your team itself, it certainly is a confidence booster for the team. And we've talked about trying to make a run here at the end of the year like we had at the beginning. And so far we've done well with that. And talking about that and being able to do it boosts confidence.
A lot of people around the league have what I would call easy games this week. The media calls them cupcake games. You have Alabama.
Non-cupcake.
a non-cupcake. And listen, your competitors. You've already seen Georgia. Now you get Alabama. I don't know who did your schedule, but you already knew it was the toughest in the country. Strength of schedule. What does a game like this mean to you and your program?
Well, it's exciting. I mean, to go to Alabama, it's one of the storied stadiums in the country and programs. And, of course, Coach Saban, he's done more than
probably any coach in the history of football for the game and for the University of Alabama. So it's exciting to go down there and see, get another test of where are we, what we need to work on, and see if we can't, somehow come out with a win.
Let me ask you about Coach Saban, because I know it's the players' play, but you appreciate greatness. You worked with Kirby Smart very, very closely for a couple of years. When we were in Athens, I think you must have lived on a busy street, because I ran into at least 4 of your neighbors who wanted to come over and tell me how close of friends they were with you. But Nick Saban is a standalone. When you think about your journey and what he has done and what he has meant, I think we'd all be interested in hearing you talk about him.
Well, he sets he set the standard. He's done it, everywhere he's been. He's done it at the highest level. If you look to see a man of what he's done, look at all the coaches that worked under him, and look at where they are today and the great success that they had. And I'm sure most of them use the same template that from him. And I know, to be honest with you, here at the University of Arkansas, being that I was able and fortunate to work with Kirby Smart, a lot of the things we do are probably somewhat similar, at least on a schedule basis, of what Alabama and Georgia do. The way that he coaches and the way that he teaches, I've learned a lot through Kirby, whom I'm guessing I learned a lot through Coach Saban.
I realize this question would be easier after the game Saturday, but you know Alabama pretty well by now. You would have known them even without looking at film, having played them last year. But do you see many similarities between Alabama and the team you played a couple weeks ago, the University of Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, structure-wise, schematics-wise, on defense, both of them have a little bit different beliefs in their third down packages. Not beliefs, that's the wrong word. Blitzes. Some similarities. Both of them like to bring somebody behind the center, pick and bring somebody behind the center, whether it be starting with a Mike linebacker or starting with a tackle. Offensively, I think they've both gone separate ways in what their philosophy is, and they're both using exactly what they have talent-wise to move the ball and to score. But I think that the total belief of discipline and physicality and earning what you get and all those type things, I think they're both you see them, and both very common in Georgia and Alabama.
Coach, before you go, I want to come back to where we began. We know how difficult the game will be against Alabama. That goes without saying. But I'm curious, when you go through what your program has been through already this season, there have been some tough games. But the last 2 weeks, when every down matters, what do you learn, not only about your team, which you're always examining, but about yourself and your staff?
Yeah, just don't panic. I think I learned a lot, to be honest with you, Paul, from the Auburn game. I think we just don't panic. Just, a punt is okay and different things of that nature. And same thing with our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators. Just get the ball out. If we have to punt, let the other side of the ball go to work, and don't be stressed. Don't, just take it what it is. And I think I learned that from the Auburn game. And then these other games here is, if you see an opportunity to go ahead and do it, ask the fake field goal and things of that nature. Don't worry about the outcome. You believe in something, and then just go do it. And that's what I learned, I think, Paul.
Coach, it's always really good to see you. Hopefully it will be a good visit to Tuscaloosa. We'll see you down there. And thanks. Most of all, thanks for making time for us. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always good. Great to come on your show.
You bet.
Have a good day.
What about Nick Saban? Yeah, what about him? He called out his team for a subpar practice. He wants the right mindset. Saban has been coddling his team until now. What's going on, Coach?
Yesterday was okay. Today we got a lot of guys that had the poor me's, whatever that means. So, you know, you get into your feelings and you don't do things the way you need to do them to have success. And when you get that way, you don't create good habits, and that's not a good thing. It's not something that we can accept, and it's something we got to do a better job of.
12th week of the season. Those seems like problems that should have been corrected.
It is also a huge weekend in college football. We've got 3 ranked matchups that could shake up the playoff race. We got Alabama versus Arkansas. Nick Saban's team needs to win one of its final 2 to clinch the SEC West and a shot at Georgia in that championship game.
And Tuscaloosa, Alabama is where we land on the 12th week of the college football season. We're back. We've been here before, and we are here this weekend for the best game in the SEC. Ranked Arkansas comes in and takes on number 2 Alabama. As a lot of Tide fans I've spoken to are looking ahead to the SEC championship game, but not yet. They have to deal with Arkansas, and then next week, the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Arkansas and Alabama is the right time to put your hatred of moral victories on hiatus. Sam Pittman, we spoke to him the other day. He's had a really good year, but he would like to make it better with a win today. Yeah, it's been a while. These are losing streaks against Alabama. Vanderbilt, 1984. Tennessee, 06. Arkansas, 06. Mississippi State, 07. The coach in 06 was Mike Shula at the University of Alabama. It's been that long. Here we are, Alabama trying to climb its way to Atlanta.
They might have another couple of guys that are up for Heisman this year. So
they still haven't had a quarterback, I don't think.
Mac was pretty close last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm beginning to wish I could revote. You know, somebody 2 years ago, not 2 years ago, but remember 2 years ago, everybody you interviewed declared Tua as the greatest Alabama quarterback ever. And then we started asking ourselves last year, what about Mac? And you just said, no, there's no way. But I'm starting to rethink that. I mean, this guy is brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, I thought he was brilliant before he ever played. I
forgot you tutored him as a kid, didn't you?
I think there's something so special about him, his mentality, his makeup. The thing is, what people need to understand is physically he is not as gifted as a lot of other quarterbacks. He is not a great athlete. He does not have a really strong arm. He is not fast. He is not big. He is not strong. But where it really matters for a quarterback in the system he's in, he has great anticipation, incredible accuracy. He knows exactly where all 22 are on every single play, and he great decision maker all the time, and he manages the game extremely well. That's why he has the highest QB efficiency in the history of college football last year, and he's killing it as a rookie. And sometimes we get caught up in these really flashy things. It's these fundamentals that are always going to be more important.
Really interesting what he is doing, and again another win last night.
5 in a row.
Pretty almost an effortless win.
I know.
If there can be such a thing in the NFL. Let me ask you about Bryce Young though, because I want to have you describe him, because I hear criticism of him, which makes you kind of want to raise your eyebrows.
I guess if someone's trying to compare every little thing to Mac Jones and Tua, but I mean, a first-year quarterback, how can you ask anything more than what Bryce has done? He's got a good chance to win the Heisman. He is doing a really good job of developing. He's a really good athlete. I think he's underrated. Yes, he's not very big, but his ability to throw on the move and his athleticism in the pocket, I think he's probably the best in college football. At being elusive inside of the pocket. Does a great job with that. He's very accurate. I don't know that he has an elite arm, but it is a really, really good arm that can put the ball most of the time wherever he wants it. And, I think with their receivers, they still have a good shot to compete and play for a national championship.
One thing that people here have criticized, I'm just relaying the public criticism to you and have you spit back an answer, is that there's some concern about the maybe the offensive philosophy this year. Maybe it's because it's different than it was last year with Sark and Kiffin before that. When you watch Bill O'Brien call a game, what are you seeing?
Well, I think they do a lot of really good things. I mean, they're still one of the best offenses in college football. What is Bryce? Maybe 4th in the country in QBR? Ooh, that's real bad, you know? And I think it's hard when you set such a high standard, when Tua sets it, when Mac sets it, when Saban sets it, when Lane sets it, when Sark sets it, and it's always trying to get back to that standard. That's really hard. When you're at the top of the mountain, every year is going to be harder than when you're trying to get to the mountain. It is. It's just flat out, it is harder. That's why very few teams have ever repeated Super Bowl champions. That's why very few teams have ever repeated as national champions in college football. It is really hard. And so I think trying to always get back to that standard is difficult. There's pressure with it, and you're always going to get everybody's best shot. So I think what Coach O'Brien has done, what Bryce has done, what this offense has done, added with Jameson Williams, I think it's been a really great job this year.
Have you ever heard anybody during football season more excited for basketball season? I think that speaks to, one, what Nate Oates is doing with the basketball team, but two, sort of the season Alabama's had, which is your question. It's just been up and down, really inconsistent, really un-Nick Saban-like. But having said that, they're still sitting at number 2 in the country with everything they want still in front of them.
And Aaron, I don't want to act like I don't understand what you said. I do. I feel like maybe I don't know the Alabama fan base like you do today, but I do have some understanding of them. And it's been I'm going to quote you from a second ago. It's been an un-Nick Saban-like season. They're excited about basketball, and they're still number 2 in the country, which tells us what about where we are, and what is it going to be if this thing does not correct itself in a couple of weeks?
I think it's a couple different things. One, we've heard Nick Saban say the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's talked about losing respect for winning. And mainly he's talking about his players when he says that, but I also think he's including the fans in that it's not as easy to win. And he's made it look quite easy. And I think, there was a time when a team would lose 6 first-round NFL draft picks and lose a lot of talented players, and you would account that into what you expected from them next season. Except Nick Saban came to Alabama, and for so many years, regardless of what they lost, they were right there, year in and year out. And it's been a little different this year. I mean, they're still right there, although they're not the favorite in the SEC. So I think all of that, sort of the human complacency factor that Alabama fans just expect to win, to expect it's their birthright to be in the college football playoff. They've lost a little respect for winning, and I think there's been some issues on this team leadership-wise. I think they're a little mentally weaker than other Nick Saban teams, which is why we've seen a different Nick Saban, the last two months probably. He's been a little more focused and accentuating the positive rather than trying to stamp down expectations, which he's done in the past with some of his better teams.
And I want to ask you about that, Aaron, because it concerns fans. They're so used to him being the normal Nick Saban. I understand he's being careful, but get beyond that. And it's not easy to get beyond that, but do the best you can in explaining his approach to dealing with whether it's a fragile team or whatever. It's certainly not what we're used to.
It's not. And, what makes a good coach is their adaptability. Even though coaches have systems on the field for their players, the best coaches adapt their system to what their players can do. And I think that adaptability applies to the mental state of this year's team. It's void of a lot of leadership. It's a team that's had 2 wide receivers pout on social media, threatening to quit. It's a team that still makes a lot of penalties. It's not really all that disciplined. And, still, Nick Saban said on his coach's radio show last night, still having communication issues and going into the 11th week of the season. So, in a lot of ways, this is just not a typical Nick Saban team. You expect Nick Saban, and you say Nick Saban's name, and you expect toughness. You expect discipline, and you expect to own the line of scrimmage. And I think all of those factors could be questioned with this year's team this year.
Talking to Aaron Suttles from The Athletic. Aaron, let's look at these next 3 weeks. Tomorrow against Arkansas, Auburn, and then Georgia. You can
manufacture a tough game wherever you want, and usually you'll be wrong with Alabama. Although this year you may have been right, although I don't remember anybody talking about Florida, a couple of people, but not many, thinking that game would go down to the final couple of seconds. Tennessee was a struggle. LSU was a nightmare on Elm Street. What about tomorrow?
I think it's a difficult matchup, and I think Nick Saban has a lot of respect for what the Arkansas Razorbacks do on defense, the way that they played them last year. I mean, if you go back and look at last year's game, the score got out of hand, but it was one of Mac Jones's lower outputs of the season. It was certainly Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith's lowest output of the season. So I think they're worried, especially with this offensive line, Paul, and I'm curious about that too, because I think there could be some change, because we've seen Damian George now out at right tackle for a couple of games, and Nick Saban said he's played pretty well. And what maybe prevented him from playing earlier in the season was that unknown, that Nick Saban didn't know how he would respond. But now that he was forced to respond due to injury, they say he's played pretty well. So I wonder if he keeps that job at right tackle when Darian Dalcourt comes back to center. So some changes on the offensive line, and then you look at what Arkansas is and the way that Sam Pittman has built that team. It's toughness. And they play tough, and that's something that Alabama has to answer. And that's what Nick Saban called his team out last night on the radio, saying that we have to answer that toughness. And I think if they were to go out, Paul, and soundly defeat Arkansas, I think that's a good sign for this development of this team this late in the season.
And if not, if we see a reoccurrence of a couple of weeks ago against LSU, what would that tell you?
That, there's a saying in life, Paul, that if someone tells you who they are enough, eventually you believe them. And we got 10 games worth of data from Alabama, and we keep trying to spin forward, what if this, what if that. Now, the offensive line changes could legitimately spark some stuff. But Alabama who it is this week. And if they tell you again that they're just sort of this inconsistent week-to-week, quarter-to-quarter football team, it's time for us to believe them.
Let me ask you about the coaching staff, Aaron. You have the Pete Golding story. We're in Chapter 9 of that. Fans don't like him, whether the statistics support that or not. But the one I'm really curious about is Bill O'Brien, coming in with big credentials. But I hear grumbling about him too. You're on ground zero. What do you see?
The last couple of weeks, there's been more grumbling about Bill O'Brien, believe it or not, than about Pete Golding. Because you're right, Pete Golding's defense ranks pretty well, 5th in the nation, 4th against the run in the nation. It's more been Bill O'Brien. And, there has been some times of uncomfortability. I think you go back and you look at the Texas A&M game where Alabama was inside the 5 and they threw it 3 straight times, and then Nick Saban the next week comes out and says he didn't publicly question O'Brien, but about as good as he could have questioned him publicly when he said, I don't think we challenged Texas A&M running the ball in the red zone. And that was, basically, I don't want to call it a shot, but he was basically saying, I don't think we did the right thing there. So there's been some of that, and now we're starting to hear Bill O'Brien's name attached to different coaching openings. So, I would not be surprised at the end of the day if it's another heavy staff turnover year for Alabama.
There was a lot made out of 2 NFL assistants, O'Brien and Marrone, and quite frankly, lately I hear more criticism of those two from fans, and I'm not saying it's random. I can see the same thing they are than anything else.
And some of it's fair, like in life. Some of us aren't gifted with the gift of getting beyond perception, and the perception is that it's Bill O'Brien's fault on the offense this year. When in actuality, the offense is pretty good. And then you look, what he's produced with a first-year starter in Bryce Young, averaging over 300 yards passing a game, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, without a great offensive line, and without all that talent at wide receiver, and your potential first-round tight end, Jaleel Billingsley, has disappeared for games at a time this year. So, given all of that and all that they've lost in the running back depletion that they've had, it's not as bad as fans are making it out to be. But you and I know both, Paul, that just as with Pete Golding, the rankings don't really matter. There becomes a point of perception, and Bill O'Brien's perception took a hit for his play calling at Texas A&M and for what the offense did against LSU in the second half. And even though the numbers don't support that he's not a good offensive coordinator or play caller, there's that perception that it's his fault, and it's really tough in life to get beyond perception.
And let's start here because Alabama I looked at the matchup a minute ago, and it was so weird. I don't know about you, seeing Arkansas ranked and having a winning record. That's going to take some getting used to.
It is something we've had to get used to this season. I mean, it's been a season in Fayetteville that's far exceeded even my expectations. Obviously, a little up and down with the start they had in September with the two big wins over the Texas schools and then the fade during October, but they've gotten things back on track. I think the loss of Jalen Catalon was what really hurt them defensively. You saw them making uncharacteristic mistakes during that run in October where they lost a couple ball games, giving up big plays in the secondary, not communicating as well. Certainly the energy that Catalon brings on the field and the playmaking ability, but also just having those guys coordinated. So I think they've gotten back on track now, and I'm interested to see how they're able to do two things tomorrow against Alabama. Can they run the football? Alabama's defense has gotten better against the run over the course of the season. And can Arkansas create some pressure on Bryce Young? I mean, this is an offensive line that is not a typical Alabama offensive line. They've given up a lot of sacks this year. They're 10th in the conference when it comes to sacks allowed. Arkansas hasn't been tremendous at their ability to rush the opposing quarterbacks either, but I think that they go with a little more aggressive nature like LSU did 2 weeks ago where they were able to rack up 4 sacks against Bryce Young. So I think they're going to want to play physical and try to hit Bryce Young and let him know they're going to be there for the full 60 minutes of that game tomorrow.
Talking to Chris Doering, and Chris, I know everyone can find a path, but what would be the best path for Arkansas? Could they possibly win this game?
I don't believe they win the game, Paul. I think that Alabama is starting to push for the end of the season. They seem to be getting better, and you look at Coach Saban this week, the way that he's been on his team about focus and preparation. It seems like he can sense the urgency that this team now needs to have. It's been a weird year for Coach Saban in terms of listening to some of the sound in the post game or on the Monday morning press conferences. He's coddled this team a little bit more. He's kind of brought them along, but now he's starting to have to ride them a little harder. And I think that this is the time that Alabama usually gets things going. Now, the thing that stands out to me, though, Paul, is how about this finish for Alabama? Arkansas and then Auburn in the Iron Bowl before going presumably to the SEC Championship against Georgia. Meanwhile, Georgia gets a little bit of a break the next 2 weeks. So I'm interested to see not only how those teams are able to handle their respective games, but Georgia being beat up a little bit last week, can they get some recovery for guys like Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith and Devontae Wyatt? And can Alabama stay healthy in 2 games against SEC West opponents?
Alabama, with a win, clinches yet another SEC West title. Beat the Hogs in T-Town, and it's done. Bama and Georgia will meet in Atlanta. As for that top 25 battle in Bama,
Sam Pittman has done a fantastic job, I think, with this team in the 2 years that he's been there. They're probably has improved as much from last year to this year as anybody in the country. They've had some great wins over some very good SEC teams.
We're excited to head to Alabama, play the CBS national game. We know they have an outstanding team, and of course then you get to Coach Saban, who obviously is the best coach in the nation and has been for a long time. So very, very big challenge for us. We're excited that it's going to be an afternoon game and excited to go to Alabama.
Now, lots to get into in this game. Let's start with Bryce Young. Heisman favorite, we know this, but as you were talking about off the air, it's not been necessarily easy. He makes it look easy, but they don't do him a lot of favors sometimes.
Well, certainly the offensive line has been one of the question marks of this Alabama team, both in the run game, and we didn't see them run the football very well against LSU a couple weeks ago, but also, how about the protection for Bryce Young? This is an offense that's based on explosive plays, but the offensive line has not done a good job. They're 10th in the conference when it comes to sacks allowed. They've given up 24 sacks, and in that LSU game, it was Bryce Young taking a lot of hits, not only behind the line of scrimmage, but scrambling. He's a slight guy. Let's keep him upright. Let's keep him protected, and let's hit some of those explosive plays, because all eyes are going to be on this offensive line like fish in an aquarium if you're going to be able to hit some of those big plays. So that's where it all starts. Bryce Young has got to be able to get the football into the hands of guys like John Mechie and Jamison Williams, because that's where the big plays come with the yards after the catch.
What did fishing in an aquarium have to do with it? No, you just got to keep them.
Everybody's looking at that offensive line.
I got you.
Yes.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yes, under the microscope, so to speak.
Sorry, I didn't catch. No, that's a beautiful analogy.
Yes,
now that
it
I
really
realize.
is.
Everybody's looking at it.
Yes.
I would have never thought of that.
No,
that's really good.
No,
Thank
that
you.
is really good. Okay, that's good. They also, Bama does, I have one of the top 2 or 3 players defensively in the country. We talk about Will Anderson Jr., 12.5 sacks leading the country, but we've never really, we break down a lot of players. We haven't broken him down yet. It's your chance.
Well, here's the deal. Alabama is number 4 in the country in rush defense. And the bottom line is when you give up 83 yards on the ground, what do you have to do? You have to throw the football, right? Will Anderson is unbelievable when it comes to rushing the passer. And here's what I say to an offensive tackle trying to block him.
What's that?
Number 1, good luck. Number 2, may the force be with you. Because I will tell you this is a tall order. I'm going to look right here. Look at the alignment right here. He's on an inside technique, and they're going to run a little toss sweep where they block the tackle down and they pull the guard. And he's got leverage on Will Anderson, but you know what? Watch him escape. He's got strong hands, powerful upper body, but watch the burst coming off the block. Boom. Tackle for loss or no gain. Now watch this in the opening game. They're going to double team him on pass protection with the right tackle. They're going to pull the backside guard to help on the double team. Will Anderson stands up the tackle. Here comes the guard. Tackle's going to leave him. Guard takes him. Look at the balance. Look at the balance in the effort. He goes down with one hand on the ground. Looks like he's in a 3-point stance, but he's relentless in the way he attacks the quarterback and attacks plays. Now, again, Mississippi State. You know what you hope? You hope the right guard in protection turns out to help the right tackle. May the force be with him. But what happens? All 4 of them turn to the left. What does that mean? It means he's got a 2-way go because the tackle's on that island by himself. Look at the gaping gap. Someone call it a chasm in there.
Yes.
And he takes that. And again, when you give the guy a 2-way go, you're putting a 320-pound tackle on this guy. You cannot block him. That's why 12.5 sacks on the year leads the country. And he'll probably have 17 or 18 before this whole thing is over. Without a question.
You know, we've had a lot of discussion about the Heisman Trophy, and you mentioned Bryce Young being the favorite, but I think it's the Alabama teammate on the other side of the ball, Will Anderson, that's got the best chance to win. He's going to have a big game against Arkansas, another opportunity against Auburn, and then the SEC championship game in Atlanta. That's a big stage. If he puts on some show with some big numbers, I think he's right there in the mix.
I'm with you. You say he might have a chance. You got to tell 900-plus voters that love offense and offensive statistics.
I have a feeling, though, this year they're already talking about Jordan Davis, right?
They were.
This is one that you can quantify a little bit better than you can a nose tackle.
And let me say this. Everybody knows he's the only one on the defense you have to focus on every down, and he still has that.
He's still tearing it up. Right, exactly.
In Tuscaloosa, they say, be a champion. They know a thing or two about that around here. This is the walk out of the tunnel to Bryant-Denny Stadium that Alabama will be making as a second-ranked team in the country, taking on 21-ranked Arkansas in a game tomorrow afternoon. And there's so much talk about Bama in the college football playoff and how they can end up having a chance there. But look at this. They currently have the second-best chance to reach the CFP, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor. If the Crimson Tide win the SEC, that number jumps to over 90%, even with a regular season loss to Arkansas or Auburn. If Bama finishes 11-2 with a loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game, they still have a 76% chance to reach the playoff. Cue all the people that say, what? How are you going to put a 2-loss team in the college football playoff? But listen, stranger things could happen, maybe even have happened. Jordan Rodgers, Tim Tebow, Roman Harper here. We'll see you tomorrow morning for SEC Nation right here in Tuscaloosa. But Jordan, when you think about this Alabama team that can clinch a spot in the SEC championship with a win over Arkansas, what about their offense gives you confidence moving forward down the stretch for them?
It's so dangerous. I mean, they don't need to run the football to be super effective. The way Bryce Young's playing, the addition of Jameson Williams, I think, completely changed the dynamic of this offense with him and Mechie. It is so tough to game plan against them because if you do sell out for the run, Bryce Young's got the ability to do the RPO, sidearm it, flick it out to a playmaker in space, and they're going to get yards after the catch. His ability to push the ball downfield, like I said, with Jameson Williams, I think is the differentiator between them and other good offenses.
I think the addition of the tight ends that have really stepped up too, especially in the big situations. And I think when you look forward to a matchup in the SEC championship against Georgia and you think, okay, they're going to have some different coverages and maybe double team some of the receivers, that could be a chance where a tight end could really step up for some big plays, maybe game-changing plays.
So we're talking about the offensive side, but Roman, the defensive side has continued to impress in some ways, especially one player. Tell us more.
Will Anderson. He's the best player in college football.
Period. Mr. Anderson.
Period. Very great one. I love the Matrix. So it's just everything he does. He's a game wrecker. And the fact that when you're offense, and Jordan will kind of allude to it too, is that before you even design a play, you better know where he is, or he will destroy everything in front of him. He's leading it. He has more tackles for loss. I mean, and he still has more games still. He is so good, and it's more. And it's not just about his technique either. He doesn't even have his technique honed in. He just plays with a sense of effort and a strength and ability that can't be matched. And he's the guy that makes everything else go for them defense.
Listen, Roman, to your point, I think he's probably the overall best player in the country.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
I really
do.
vote for him for Heisman, Tim.
Not most important because I think there's other positions, but the best player, I really believe right now, it's Will Anderson.
So, Jordan, if you had to pick actually the MVP of this Alabama team right now, who would you go with?
I still go with Jameson Williams, just because I think he unlocked everything for this offense. They have a lot of good pieces, but still, Will Anderson and this defense, the test will be stopping Arkansas's run.
I can actually see from
physical.
the defensive perspective.
They get like so much offensive bias.
He's just overly offensive. Hey,
Whatever.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Hey, listen, I played linebacker too.
You're not wrong.
There we go.
I believe you.
I obviously didn't. I obviously didn't.
That's a shocker to everybody at home. Roman, when you think about a matchup to watch tomorrow, though, I do think it's Arkansas's run game against this Alabama rush defense. What sticks out to you there about who may have the edge?
Well, it's going to be, does Will Anderson and the defensive ends, who do they take in the whole option game? Because K.J. Jefferson has a real threat when he pulls the ball that now he's able to get on the edges. Not only that, but when they get to Treylon Burks, or they do other things to get these guys the ball in space, how do you slow down Arkansas's weapons on the outside?
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow right here from Tuscaloosa. We'll find out if Jordan Rogers has any linebacker
Bring it, Alabama. Let's go.
SEC Nation coming your way from Tuscaloosa. The number 2 Alabama Crimson Tide taking on Arkansas today. We've got head coach Nick Saban joining us here. Coach, thanks for being with us. I'll start here. You were walking up, and Eli Gold was doing a play-by-play. Your walk-up, did you hear that?
Not really.
All right, well.
I've heard him quite a bit through the years, and he's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back and watch that in your spare time.
Good.
I know you don't have a whole lot of that. We're going to grab a microphone. Do you guys are hearing him? We're good. All right, never mind. Coach, we just want to make sure everyone can hear you. Talk to me about Arkansas today, their physicality, what they bring to the table, especially at the line of scrimmage. How does that challenge your team?
Well, I think that's the key to the game. Probably turnovers, explosive plays, and who wins up front. So they pride themselves in playing that way. They talk a lot about how they play that way. I think our team needs to pride themselves in how we can play that way as well.
Nice.
Coach, you have quite a reputation for being tough on your team. This year, you've walked them through some valleys and tried to bring them to peaks. I'm curious just your philosophy about managing this particular team.
Well, I think it's a lot about how the team responds. I think when you win a championship the year before, you got a group that's maybe a little more satisfied and not as hungry as what you had maybe something to prove a year ago. So trying to get them to play with consistency is a little bit different approach, I think, than when you have a team that's really hungry. You're trying to always establish, why you guys should really be hungry to try to prove something for this team. So it's been a little different approach. Sometimes we've done it fairly well, sometimes not so well. So we'll keep working on it.
Coach, I feel like the transfer portal can be good and bad. It's really a big question mark. You have a player that came from Ohio State and Jameson Williams that really didn't do a ton there. Did you underestimate a little bit maybe the impact that he would have as he's transferring to really what he's done so far this season for you?
Well, we thought we needed a speed receiver to complement the other guys that we had, and we looked at 5 or 6 guys all over the country. We thought, hands down, Jameson Williams was the best guy to do that, and felt like he could do the things that he's done for that. We've put him in the position to do it, and he's certainly come through for us.
Coach, could you, Will Anderson, he's a special talent. I really enjoy watching him every week. And could you really just go into what's really made him and the difference from all the other greats that you've had and coached under you that's really kind of separated him?
Well, I think that, all the great players have some similar qualities. They have great physical ability, but they also have the right mindset to go out there and try to be the best that they can be every day that they hit the field. And that's what Will possesses. He's got a lot of ability. He's got great size. He's got speed, can turn speed to power.
Right.
But, this guy is relentless in the way he approaches the game, the way he competes in the game, the way he practices every day, and his leadership qualities have really helped our team develop this year as well.
All right, Coach, I'm going to try to get you to not be neutral. You have one vote for the Heisman, Bryce Young or Will Anderson?
Oh. Come on, Coach, with me. Come on with me, Coach. Come on with me, Coach.
I never compare players. Both guys have done
like
a
any
great
good
job.
dad.
And we love it when our players get positive self-gratification, external, sort of attention from their accomplishments. So we wish them both the best in all the awards that they might win. But I think it's also important that players understand, how you play and finish the season is very meaningful. Sure. I mean, I saw one of these things on TV the other day about how guys finished the season that ended up winning the Heisman Trophy or getting awards. So these are very meaningful games to players as they play toward the end of the year, because there's a lot of big games, a lot of people see them, and they bring a lot of attention.
How do you balance that in coaching and it being all about team, and you've rallied so many teams to peak at the end, but also, the individual praise that some get, and you've managed for so long to keep the mindset on team, even though you have so many guys win Heismans and other awards?
Yeah, but I always sort of think that everybody's a little self-absorbed. They think of how it affects them. So even though team is important and I want everybody to put the team first, I also want everybody to understand how what they do affects their future and how they create value for themselves by what they do. And I think the individuals on the team make the team what it is. So to get everybody in that mindset to play their best is also very important.
We know you're not looking ahead, and you've got two important games here today and tomorrow. Sorry, Coach. But I do want your assessment of Georgia this year. What have you seen out of them and how they've played?
Well, I think Georgia's got maybe the best team in the country from a consistency standpoint, the way their defense has played, the way their offense sort of complements their team and their chances to be successful. Nobody's been as consistent in their performance as they have been. So I think that's the challenge that we'd all have if we ever had to play them.
By the time y'all play, will they be one of the best teams in history? The way that you'll build them up to motivate your team. They're the best of all time, and
we're not concerned about all that. We're kind of focusing in the church of what's happening now, which is today.
Yeah, nobody in the building's watching Georgia film yet.
Which is all about the game that we have today against a very good team. So this is going to be a challenge for us, and I think our players need to have the right mindset approach in this game.
Coach, before this gets out of hand, we'll let you go, okay? Because I can't trust these guys over here. It was my fault. I started it, I know. But anyway, good luck today.
It's kind of going down here.
We got to end this thing. Good luck today.
I like the presidential suit, though.
Yeah, he's ready to go. President of at least the University of Alabama football team. We got so much more coming your way. SEC Nation rolling on from Tuscaloosa. Let Coach Nick Saban hear it, guys.
Bryant-Denny Stadium, senior day for Alabama against Arkansas. They can lock up the SEC West by winning one of their two final games. The Razorbacks in town having the team dinner last night and hoping to take down Bryce Young, who's been exceptional on third down. Alabama leads the nation in third down conversions. A lot of it is because Bryce Young, no matter what the down and distance, has been able to get it done in a very smooth operating fashion.
Again, Bryce backpedals, has time, loads up, looks long, Jameson Williams, he is gone, touchdown, Alabama!
He's played very well. He's made a lot of good decisions. He's accurate with the ball. He's done a really good job of executing the offense, and he's done a great job of distributing the ball like we would like for him to.
Bryce is really poised and really mature, for his age. The coaches, they put a lot on him. He really handles it well.
He's got a really smooth release and has a way to throw the ball in all kinds of different angles.
He's what a Alabama quarterback to me is, a winner.
I'm coming in each and every day with guys who want to work, guys who want to get better, knowing I'm getting coached by the best, knowing the expectations, and then me now continuing trying to work to meet them, to exceed them.
Had 33 touchdown passes, and he's had to compensate for a lot. Alabama's down to two healthy running backs. Had problems on the offensive line. Can't find a third receiver. Poor old Alabama trying to lock up the SEC West today against the Hawks.
Yeah, they really are. I think they're going to do it too. Bryce Young has been really impressive. Started out with the Miami game, young quarterback, right? Watching him go through his progression this season. really impressed with his command of the RPO system. He has just a skill set, just a talent, like a gift. His hands, his feet, his footwork, everything is right on point. I've really enjoyed watching him develop this season. That's why he's a Heisman candidate, Kurt.
Yeah, I was down there this week. I think it's something they're going to run next week. But, man, you would love this guy's approach for such a young quarterback. Cerebral, poised. Bill O'Brien, who worked a long time with Tom Brady and with Deshaun Watson, said of all the guys I've ever been around, this guy is as impressive as anybody that I've ever worked with, and that's a young quarterback in Tuscaloosa. Don't forget this. When Arkansas went to Georgia with that 3-3-5, first or second series, the game was over. What did Georgia do? Pounded the football. So as much as we want to talk about Alabama's passing, today it's the running game that's the difference.
Arkansas is a 20-point underdog to Alabama. I think that's too many points against a team like Arkansas. I'll tell you why. They run the ball real well. They're number 2 in the SEC in running. They got a big quarterback, A.J. Jefferson.
Big boy. Yep.
Counted for 19 touchdowns already. And their pass defense is 3rd in the SEC. Wow. So, having said all that, Alabama by 19.
Brian Robinson, big day today.
Yeah, I know you guys are all fluent in Sabanese. You hear him talking about the poor me's this week. Yeah. I think he's a little worried about this game.
Do you?
Yeah, I think
he has predicted concern. LSU, he did it. A&M, he did it. Now he's done it this week.
Bama is 20.5-point favorites, and again, the Tide can clinch a spot in the SEC championship game today with a chance to take down number 1 Georgia. Bama's stingy run defense against Arkansas's potent run game, a matchup to watch as the Razorbacks have the nation's number 6 rushing offense. Arkansas has a 14-game losing streak against the Tide, and as the Tide would love to keep boosting its playoff resume, they're looking for a win while the Hogs itching to ruin that party. So we heard from Nick Saban a little bit earlier on, and he doesn't want to address anything down the road. We'll address that in a moment. But, Jordan, when you think about what Bama is trying to prove to the committee here, as they do have a loss that is not going away, what can they show today that would impress this college football playoff committee?
I think it's physicality. I think if you look back at Alabama this season, there's a few times that they were out physical at the line of scrimmage. Florida did it, pushed them around. LSU pushed them around up front as well. And if you look forward, and you start to project, as the committee will do, to matchups and Georgia and what's ahead of them, they need to be physical at the line of scrimmage, especially on the defensive side. Arkansas, one of the best run offenses in the entire country. KJ Jefferson, 250 pounds, big physical quarterback. This interior defensive line needs to show out today. They need to shut down Alabama, shut down Alabama, then Auburn.
Alabama has to find a way to continue to prove the naysayers wrong. Yeah. And it's really hard for you to say that because you're going against the standard that they've already set in previous years. But for the first time, Alabama is not looked upon as the crown or the top of it. Georgia is the top right now, and they are always being compared to whatever Georgia does on a week-to-week basis. No matter how good you play defensively, if you're not up to Georgia standard, you're still second in line right now. So whatever they can do to close that gap, which would be a great performance today versus Arkansas, would really look good. And, of course, Jordan being the physical team, but it's still so much out there. You have to win the game that they have to win, which I'm not going to project, but y'all know
totally. You're right. Both of you guys are right for perception, but who cares? If Alabama just wins and they take care of business and get to the SEC championship,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I don't think that the committee is going to let them in with 2 losses. So if they stumble, I think it's going to be really difficult to be able to get in. So it's just taking care of business for Alabama.
Paul, Saban has coached teams, especially in recent memory, with their back against the wall a little bit as it relates to the college football playoff picture, with no margin of error down the stretch. What do you expect out of the way he'll coach this team, even as it relates to what you just heard him talk about?
Yeah, I don't mean this to be disrespectful toward Arkansas, but I think Nick Saban really looks at these next two games against Arkansas and Auburn as a way to experiment a little bit and figure out what's happening in 2 weeks. He may have acted like he didn't know Georgia was in 2 weeks, but he knows that. and he also knows that the team that he put out in the field in the last couple of weeks is not going to beat Georgia. So he has to find a way to get this team cranked up a little bit to get ready for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but Alabama has a 64% chance to reach the playoff right now. That's second best behind Georgia. Georgia at 96%. Ooh. So a slight difference there. All right.
Write them in with a Sharpie.
Right, exactly. Here's what's new on Nation today on this Week 12 college football Saturday. Alabama running back Roydell Williams out for the season with a knee injury. Tough to see that happen. Auburn quarterback Bo Nix and kicker Anders Carlson both out for the rest of the season after surgery this week. And Matt Corral will take the field at Vaught Hemingway Stadium for the final time today.
If Will Anderson gets a one-on-one, it's over.
Will Anderson is as good as you're going to find. He's elite.
I'm a headhunter. I love to hit QBs.
Hammered, and that's that man Anderson.
His first step is like no other. It's like lightning, man. Kind of scary. I didn't even know it was like that.
Pressured, and he goes down. Will Anderson.
Everybody called him a Terminator.
Terminator mode activated.
I just go out there and destroy people, and I just wreak havoc. I'm just wherever the ball is.
And driven down again by a completely menacing Will Anderson.
Probably my favorite play was the LSU play, when I hit the running back. I wasn't expecting to come that free and hit him like that.
He's too quick off the ball. You can't block this guy one-on-one.
If the Heisman is for college football's best overall player, then he should definitely, be in the conversation, because if you look at his stat line, you watch his film, he's definitely one of the best players in college football.
Terminator mode. Some incredible performances across the SEC Week 11. Alabama's Will Anderson, you saw there. Arkansas's Bumper Poole each had 2 tackles for loss in their team's win. Anderson leads FBS with 12.5 sacks, while Poole is second in the SEC with 100 tackles. Bryce Young barely played in the second half. He threw 270 yards, 5 TDs in the first half. With that performance, broke an Alabama record for touchdown passes in a single half. How about our top stories for Week 12? Alabama looking to clinch the SEC West title with a win over Arkansas. Would be the Tide's 14th appearance in the SEC championship game, snapping a tie with Florida for the most all-time. Nick Saban has won all 14 games against the Razorbacks since arriving in Tuscaloosa. And this week, we spotlight Jameson Williams, who has found so much success through the transfer portal here as the great speedster wide receiver in this Alabama offense. Our Roman Harper sat down with him yesterday.
All right, Jameson. Just get straight to it. The question that everybody wants to know. You come from Ohio State. You end up at Alabama. Take me through that kind of transition. How did you get to this point?
The transition, it wasn't pretty hard. I knew coming in I was going to have to do some big things, work harder, do things twice as harder. So I kind of had a mindset to complete that. I feel like I've had a pretty good season so far. Could do pretty much more.
More? Tell me this more that you think that you could be doing right now, because from the outside looking in, bro, you're doing your thing. So your first 2 years at Ohio State, you had 15 catches in 2 years. In 10 games, you got 50 catches here. How does that come about? How does all of a sudden Jameson Williams just burst on the scene like that?
I feel like I just feel like I'm a ball player. I can make plays, so I feel like if I would have been able to get more catches at Ohio State, this would have been happening. So things just happened. I entered the transfer portal, happened to come to Alabama and been doing it at this stage, and I feel like it's just something I do.
Wide open Jameson Williams! There goes Jameson Williams to the house. How about Jameson Williams and the speedster?
Now, another thing I have to know from you, this whole Karate Kid thing. You're the first one to bring it out.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Bring it home for me.
It was like one practice early in the season. Me and Metch was talking, like, we was just thinking of something that like we can do. Me or him came up with it. Like, we finna just do the Karate Kid. And then it just happened, like, I scored first that game. I hit it, then he scored. We just been doing it since. Like, I've been seeing it a lot out here. Like, I've been seeing a lot of kids doing it now.
Yeah.
That's tough, though.
What has been the biggest difference, and I don't like talking about the past as much, but the biggest compliment, I guess, from you, from being on this campus in Tuscaloosa that's really changed you as a person?
I would say, like, when Nick Saban gave me a compliment, called me a dog, because I felt like I've been that, but who it came from, like, he's great. He's seen a lot of guys before. He's seen me got a chance to coach me. And when that came, it was just like, most people look at Nick Saban like the greatest coach. He's just seen a lot of talent, and just for it to come from him, that just means a lot.
You know, I think sometimes we just expect Alabama to reload year after year, and we expect that because that's exactly what they've done. But it's worth remembering, Bryce Young, this is his first opportunity to be starting. He's a freshman. I mean, this guy has done remarkable things with a group that really hasn't played together much. Marty and McGee, what do you guys think about Bama's offense?
I think they're pretty good, Laura.
Not bad.
You know, it's what stands out the most. They certainly have explosive play ability with Williams there and Bryce's ability to throw the deep ball. But it's the efficiency that has made them so potent. It gives them such great versatility because he has such command of every single aspect of what Bill O'Brien and that group want to do. It's been fun to watch, and I think that they are just now starting. I think that they have so much more potential. Coach Saban has said it. They need to complete more long balls.
Well, and I'm thinking now because, I mean, listen, we're getting to the end of November, Thanksgiving next week. It's Heisman time. And, you know, no one this season has exploded. You know, they've been consistent. They've had their moments. Bryce Young has been the most consistent with the moments, is the way I would phrase it. And I think he's on everyone's Heisman short list. He should be. But also, we're talking offense, but the best player in the nation is probably on defense playing for Alabama.
Yeah, Will Anderson is unbelievable. We talked about him during our show. I know that Roman feels the same way that we do, just the way he's able to disrupt by himself, just from sheer God-given athletic ability. I thought it was interesting that Roman shared with us from a technique perspective, he has plenty of room to grow. That is terrifying for opposing offenses. You know, C.J. Stroud is having a tremendous season at Ohio State. I think that him and Young are kind of the leaders right now. Kenneth Walker, Michigan State is playing against Ohio State today, so whoever plays bigger in that game probably jumps the other. It's a wide open race, and that's kind of fun that there's not that clear-cut guy. The defensive side of the football is interesting, though.
Yeah, no, but the history is against you. But I'll say this: I mean, since Hugh Green finished second in the Heisman vote, I think in 1980, there's only been a handful of defensive linemen to crack the top 10. Two were right here, Quentin Williams and Jonathan Allen. And so there's a chance to get some votes because there hasn't been the obvious choice at quarterback. But the obvious choice might be playing right here at Alabama.
If Bryce Young does close it and win the Heisman, he'll be the first Bama quarterback to ever do it.
What?
That is crazy. You think about all these Bama quarterbacks, and listen, I'm done with that whole game manager thing, right? These guys have been really good, but Bryce Young has a chance to make some history. So that's what the tape's saying when it comes to Alabama's offense and what we've seen from them. But let's go a little deeper dive in this as we take it to the gridiron, brought to you by Johnsonville. Jordan, show us more of what the tape's saying as it relates to Bryce Young.
It's amazing that this kid is just a freshman. Two things he does extremely well. It's his accuracy and his timing. And Marty mentioned the command he has of Bill O'Brien's offense and what Bill asked him to do pre-snap. I want you to watch this. LSU is going to be in cover zero. Zero safeties, man across the board, and you can see they're going to bring more than Alabama can block. So watch Bryce Young navigate the communication that he has to have before the snap. Now let's dive into exactly what this means, because in cover zero, again, no safety help. What you're going to get is 4 down linemen. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going to block those. Offensive line's going to block those. Now what they have to worry about, where's my fourth one? There we go. Fourth, what they have to worry about is this is what Bryce Young's got to do. Which one of these guys are coming? I have to slide the offensive line to try to block 2 of them, and hopefully one of them drops. Hopefully one of them gets the back. Here's what Bryce Young did. He slid this offensive line to the left. He made what we call a lake. Lake, River, that's a 4-man slide. Lucky, Ringo, that's a 5-man slide. So he goes Lake to slide this offensive line to the left to block this. Now what happens? Well, this guy popped because the offensive line slid his direction, and this guy's coming. So Bryce Young has got to get himself, no, that's not going to work. Here we go. He's got to buy himself some time, and what I love about this, watch how much depth he gets. So watch this. So when his drop, instead of dropping like a typical quarterback would, he's going to backpedal out of there to make sure he has vision on which blitzers are coming to buy himself time. And when he gets to the bottom of his drop, he is 10 yards deep. And look at this hit that he's taken. He is 10 yards deep, taking this hit, and he's throwing the ball to the middle here to John Metchie. He's attacking the weak spot. Cover zero, right? No safety help there. And this is what I'm talking about, accuracy and timing. Watch when he releases this ball, how much pressure he's under. and then watch where this ball ends up. Right on his receiver, right on the front shoulder. He threw under pressure. His accuracy and his timing is so elite at such a young age. It's unlike any other. He's a front runner for the Heisman, in my opinion.
Yeah, when I think you talk to people who have a Heisman vote, you can't really talk about that conversation without Bryce Young being so squarely in it. And we heard from Nick Saban earlier today talking about the test, Paul, that they even have right now, an opportunity to show something to the committee with a win over this team, this Arkansas team that's really physical, if they could get that today. What were your impressions of Saban when we spoke to him this morning?
I was amazed at how calm he was. It reminded me of 6 weeks ago when we were here. He seemed very confident and calm getting ready for the Ole Miss game, and we know what that result was if you're trying to figure out how this result is going to be. But overall, I think he was very expansive about the difficulty of this year. He didn't say those words, but he's had a lot to overcome. He had almost a perfect season last year. He knew that would be hard to replicate. He has two new offensive coaches in Marrone and O'Brien, two former NFL head coaches, and I see struggle on the offensive side, and I sense, this is my impression, that Saban's not thrilled with what he's seeing offensively, especially compared to Sark and Lane Kiffin.
Well, right, because Paul, I think so much of the conversation is that what type of talent this Bama team has offensively, especially with Bryce Young. You just saw Jordan illustrating it. We've been talking about it. Why aren't they better? Why aren't they clicking on more cylinders? And that's been part of the conversation around the defense too. As we keep saying, this Bama team has not yet reached that ceiling or reached anywhere near what we think their potential could be. On the defensive side, though, they have shown you guys some things. Tell me more.
All right, it all starts up front with Will Anderson, Laura. And he is the guy that changes everything and allows everybody else to do work after this. So initially, pass rush. I'll just tell you why he's such a threat. It's his first step. We saw Evan Neal talk about it, how fast he is on that first
tackle.
One of y'all be that tackle. Okay, so boom. As soon as he comes off the ground, he is really fast. So now if he doesn't beat you on the first step with speed, which quarterbacks are not always afraid of just
I'd rather you went way upfield and I can step up in the pocket.
Exactly. But now here is the kicker. This is what makes him so dangerous. Is now when he kicks, we get that speed. So now defenses are already aware of that. Now he uses these long arms, and now he goes speed to power.
Now as a quarterback, worst nightmare, right? You get someone in my lap.
That's what he does. So that's what really. So what do you guys for quarterbacks?
So as a quarterback, this is what you got to do. When you play Will Anderson, this is what Arkansas will have to do today. You identify him before the snap every single time. When I played Jadeveon Clowney back in the day, mind you, my left tackle was 260, my right tackle was 250. I slid the line in his direction every time. We didn't even call a protection. So I'm going to walk to the line of scrimmage. I'm going to find Will Anderson. I'm going to make sure the line slides in his direction first.
No doubt about it. And then a couple other things you also want to do. If I'm a tight end, I can slide in. I can get a little chip.
There we go.
Receivers can get chips. Even running backs coming out of the backfield can get a chip. Also in the run game, instead of
physical quarterback,
instead of running away from him, look for Arkansas to run right at him, right? Now we got speed option.
Yep.
We can have zone read. You can have quarterback power. Let's hang on to that thing, okay? Yeah. You have all of this. But when it comes to the zone read, we can go away from him and read him.
Right, and this is what he does best. He comes off, he just tries to destroy everything. They don't make him think or slow down. And you like that, Tim. You like when guys play fast.
I do like it because it makes it fast, right?
And when they do that, they will do that. So then Christian Harris or Henry To'oTo'o will scrape over the top here, which is why they have a huge role today because of how disruptive Will Anderson is. It puts a lot on them.
But if you do that and your linebacker misses the tackle, could be a big play. And KJ is a big boy that breaks a lot of tackles.
So in pass protection, look for Arkansas to go at Will Anderson to protect him.
Or
in the run game, also look for them to go at Will Anderson. So in a weird way, the best player on the field becomes a focus for Arkansas, right?
I don't know how they run at him, but hey, good luck to Arkansas if they want to try it.
And we're going to get you ready for this one right here. 21 ranked Arkansas coming to town here to take on second-ranked Alabama at 3:30, 2:30 Eastern, right here on CBS. And we'll get you ready for this one with the importance on both sides.
We have a target on our back in about every game. Everybody kind of circles our game as a game that, like to have success in.
Legends never die.
Let's go. Set. Go. We got no business being in the playoffs until we earn our way to get in the playoffs.
I don't really feel that we view it as pressure. It's just all part of the game. I feel like everyone on this team is competitive. Everybody on this team wants it.
It's November, and what you remember for is in November. So, these last 2 games, we have to keep the same focus and same intensity as we've been doing all season.
The playoff picture can become a lot more clear today, and Alabama has to handle business right here in Tuscaloosa against Arkansas. Let's pick this game. We're going to start. We're going to go ahead and start with Tim here. Tim, who are you taking between Arkansas and Alabama today?
Listen, we've talked a lot about Georgia, but I still believe Alabama has the highest ceiling if they play up to it. They also have 2 of the best players in the country, and Bryce Young. But maybe the best player in the country is Will Anderson. Will Anderson has a big day. I'm going Bama.
All right. 1 pick for Bama. Jordan, who are you taking?
I think you could find a lot of ways that Arkansas can make this a football game, even win this football game. I think the biggest test for Alabama is with Christian Harris, Henry To'oTo'o against this rushing attack of Arkansas that's really good. I think Alabama still wins the day.
We got 2 for Alabama. Let's get our Alabama guy right here, Roman Harper, to make his pick.
I am an Alabama guy. Everybody knows it. I've shown it before, but
But the bus is gassed up.
What are you talking about?
I am an Arkansas bandwagon guy, and I drive the bus more than anybody else on this show. But you guys have seen those gas prices. I have parked that thing this week. It is too high. I'm on Alabama.
All right, it is now time for Paul's pick, brought to you by Regions. Paul Feinbaum, who you taking? You going with Bama?
I really like Arkansas to lose today.
Bama wins. Got the guy. He's got his legs.
Put it back together.
We'll see you next week on SEC Nation.
You broke it. What are we doing? That's my boy Catalan.
That is in its 32nd meeting and 14 straight wins for the Tide over the Razorbacks. The last time they beat Alabama, Nick Saban wasn't the coach here. Alabama won the toss and deferred. Arkansas will receive. And we're underway. And a fair catch called for. Big 312-pounder. A key to that up front group for the Crimson Tide. Here's Johnson in the open field. To'oTo'o holding on for dear life and a big run. Blitz coming off the edge. Bryce Young gonna go down. That is Trey Williams who got there first.
5-man rush, and from the left side, I think that's the guy over here that's going to get it. Gregory's going to get it, going to the outside, and that's been the problem spot for this Alabama offense. Easy of a throw. That's bad defense.
Well, he put some whistle on that one. They're down at 6. Now he throws lightly over the middle to Mechie, and he's
just
a little bit
short.
shy.
Yeah, just short.
Brian Robinson slipped in the backfield, and down he goes. And Arkansas takes over on downs.
I think Ness, even if he had not slipped, the penetration from this Arkansas front was too much. They get inside, linebackers are taking on blocks. That was a great job by Hayden Henry taking on the block, and they blew it up.
To the tight end in the backfield with Young and Robinson. See if they can take advantage of the fumble recovery. Brian Robinson, Trey Williams has got it wrapped up after a short game. Trio of receivers to Bryce Young's left. Here they come, bringing the house. Young fires high and complete.
Same thing, that was blitz 0, exactly what we're talking about. You're blitzing everyone, and you're forcing your 5 defenders.
Jefferson's first pass is a dart to Burks, and he got the first down. Raheem Sanders in the backfield. Jefferson looking left, looking for an escape now, and fires on the run and completes it. Second down at 4. Lob pass. Burks got it, got the edge, got the first down and into Alabama territory. Last time they only hit it 32 yards. This one's a wobbler that's heading toward the goal line. Will it stay out of there? It will.
My goodness.
Down at the 2.
I think it landed about the 1. I mean, you talk about backspin.
That is perfect. To the 30. High snap. Got it down, though, to Robinson, and Robinson no gain on this one. Stuffed up by Isaiah Nichols. Red zone at the 18. Final play of the quarter if it gets off, and they do. And Robinson will lose a couple to end the quarter.
Penetration, tackles for losses. That's what those guys got to do, and did it well for that Arkansas defense.
End of the first quarter.
Watch all the traffic going this way, and then Mechie gets one-on-one coverage. The ball goes to the right read. Perfect read by the quarterback.
Jefferson on a slant, incomplete. Looking for a flag was Warren. He didn't get one.
Yeah.
To his tight end spot. Blitz from Alabama coming. Jefferson incomplete. And again looking for a flag was Warren, and Jefferson thought there should have been some laundry on the field too.
Interesting pass rush by Alabama. It looks like a three-man front, but watch how they try to pick for Will Anderson. Inside, 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 and Will Anderson will come around basically on block. If you're going to be in the pocket, he'll be there. Tackle and load up and block it.
Little pirouette there by the quarterback Young. Jamison Williams doesn't get anything out of it. In fact, lost about 3 yards. Picked up 33 yards to the 32. And now the quick throw is tipped at the line of scrimmage, almost intercepted by Bumper Poole.
Young is not the tallest guy, but this time he's got his eyes left. He sees it, and it was actually the corner, Brown, that got the tip on the play. Read well by the outside by Mechie, but the jump and the tip made it go. Stretch this Alabama defense out at all.
Jefferson fires far sideline. Got it. Good throw and catch.
Finally, you've got to throw the ball deep. Even if you don't complete them, you got a one-on-one and you got a great receiver. Now, it's good coverage.
Nothing to show for it on the scoreboard so far. Jefferson, quarterback draw. Had a big open field off the right side. Broke one tackle, and he's close. That close.
Is it close enough to go for it? Now I'm thinking in my head as he's running, without the mess up of the play, it's an easy first down here. But he almost gets it anyway, and I think they're going to call it a first down. Am I right?
They already moved the chains.
Wow.
I guess they better.
Yeah.
I thought the official on that far side came up about
well, we're going to get maybe a challenge from Nick Saban. Or is the
ruling
replay?
On the field is a first down. That play is under review.
Yep. Replay booth's going to take a look.
Yeah, they are. And Mickey Haddock's a replay official. And when that official came up, and you'll see it maybe on this replay, put his foot down, and I thought it was about the length of his shoe, the officials that is, shy of the first down.
Yeah, but neither one of those looks are going to help. It's from the wrong angle. Nothing so far to help the replay official overrule the call on the field.
Gene Steratore, our rules official, is with us. Gene, I don't know what you can see.
There's
that we
one,
can't,
though.
but let us know.
Yeah, I think the line feed right now is the best angle to get. And Branch puts a big hit on KJ Jefferson. We can see. I thought he was short, but it is just the nose of the football that has to make that line to gain. And that is the piece of it that I just can't see definitively enough, again, to overturn the ruling on the field.
Oh, boy. I think he's like a half yard short here. Big hit by Branch, turns him, ball's in his right hand, and the official runs up.
That's what I'm trying to say. That the official came up and put his foot down and stopped.
I know, but Ness, I'm just thinking he doesn't have any better view of it.
No, he's got a worse view.
Exactly.
There he comes.
So he's just guessing.
He puts the brakes on right there. That's short. And then he moved his right.
And then he turned and moved it. He's like a dance step.
Did a Tuscaloosa two-step there at the end of that.
I thought the football was short of the line.
Here's a call.
After review, the runner was short of the line to gain. The ball will be placed at the
Now Sam Pittman has to make a decision.
Yeah, do you want to go on 4th and a foot in your own territory?
You've got a quarterback that weighs 240 pounds. I mean, if Tom Brady can do this, who's not 240 pounds?
Joe Namath here. We could do a naked bootleg with Joe Williams.
Right. Now remember, Arkansas does not take a lot of snaps directly under center.
Right. Arkansas 6 out of 13 on 4th down this year. They send everybody up to the top of your screen. Empty backfield in a shotgun, so 6 yards deep. And now Jefferson will come under center and go straight ahead, and he got it. it with second or third effort. So first down. Arkansas keeps their drive alive. Jefferson wants to throw. Now he's going to take off. Whoa, did he put a helmet into To'o, who brought him down, but he got about 8 yards out of it.
The running quarterback was a big part of it.
Jefferson stands tall in the pocket, rips it down, incomplete, intended for Burks, and broken up by Malachi Moore.
What a great play by Malachi Moore. Playing the star position means he has to cover the slot all over the field. Now watch him cut inside. Get inside, get his hand on him. Could have been caught.
Yep.
His hand on his other arm might have forced the incompletion. That could have been called, I think. He held his arm on that play just like a long pass down the sideline. That might have been the difference.
Second down and 10 from the 40. One-handed catch by the tight end, Blake Kern. That's good job with the left mitt there. There's a little shovel to Smith. Broke one tackle, got down to the 15-yard line where it's third and short. This is Jefferson all the way, isn't it? Nope, he's going to throw. And he's got his man out. In Burks, broke a tackle, and a touchdown, Arkansas. Traylon Burks in the end zone and cuts it.
Beautiful position in the slot, breaking out, and this time a very accurate throw. Malachi Moore does not get picked and doesn't get out there with the right leverage for the touchdown. What a drive.
Traylon Burks in the end zone for the 9th time this year. 15-yard scoring strike for KJ Jefferson, including on the scoreboard just a field goal difference. Bryce Young comes up ready to throw on first down. Maybe not, and he won't. Going to get sacked by Zach Williams.
Chris Owens, number 74. Right here's the matchup. Gets pushed back, good push back, and then as Bryce Young moves up in the pocket, gets the sack. A little different look, and he just takes it. Enough protection, remember, just a 3-man rush. And he goes, perfect throw right over the safety, and the corner just stumbled, and could not handle the strike.
17-7. Burks playing in pain, still in there, circling in the backfield, but it's Smith up the middle, and he almost busted it. A shoestring tackle by To'o.
That's the second shoestring tackle To'o has made in the game. To the outside he goes, and then he gets back in on the play.
They go right back to him, and he does the same thing again. Traylon Smith out to the 47. They fake it to Smith. Jefferson stands tall, rips it down the sideline. Another first down at the 36. And he didn't turn it over. This one he's got to throw on the ground. Burks was the closest guy.
Yeah, that snap was low. Nothing was really nice about that play. Again, kind of a little bit of a mess up to begin with. Low snap, goes down, and then by the time he gets it off, perfect coverage by Alabama.
On the offense, number 1. That penalty is a loss of down at the spot of the foul.
They call grounding.
I thought he was throwing it right at number 16.
That's what Sam Pittman thinks too.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good, and he could have been outside the tackle box on the play as well. I think that's a tough call. I'd really like to get Gene's opinion on this. I mean, that's a tough call on a quarterback. Throws it right at the feet of a receiver, and he's on the edge of the tackle box.
Gene, what do you think?
Now, I agree with Gary on the play. Look, we know that he's throwing this ball away, but with somebody in the area that close, you give them the benefit of the doubt and just play the next down. Totally agree with Gary's interpretation on that.
Well, the next down is 3rd and 13 with the loss, 3rd and 14 actually. So what was a great-looking drive might stall unless Jefferson can hook up with somebody. Going deep, and he's going to hook up with somebody. Touchdown, Arkansas. Warren Thompson.
Warren Thompson wins right at the line of scrimmage.
There's a flag down.
That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Watch Thompson win at the line of scrimmage right here. Goes for the jam, Josh Jobe, and then he runs into his own man. You go for that jam and you miss, you are in trouble. Wow.
What a comeback drive. 75 yards in 5 plays. Only took him 90 seconds.
Josh Jobe is a skilled corner, and when you go for that physical jam at the line of scrimmage, you got to get it because all your momentum's going forward, and you're beat.
I don't know if they're looking maybe at whether or not Thompson crossed the goal line or if he came down inside the 1.
Was his knee down before the ball crossed the plane? I think he scored.
I did too, but
catch.
It's like his upper. He's about 6'5". It looked like his upper body was across the goal line, but it's hard to tell from that angle. You know, where's the ball right there? So his elbow obviously is in the end zone.
I can tell you 2 guys that are hoping it's a touchdown pass. The quarterback.
Gene, what do you think? You with us?
I'm with you guys, and I don't see anything. Here's a great angle that we get right there. And even as we see the shin and knee hit, look, the elbow at that point, I think, is crossed and broken the goal line. I don't see anything very clear and obvious to overturn that. I also was looking, because the receiver was falling initially after possessing the football, to see if he maintained control throughout the process. And I also felt like he definitely did that too. The ball moves but doesn't hit the ground or anything. And I really don't see anything to overturn the ruling on the field after looking at these views.
You know, that's a great point, Gene, is that maybe that's what replays, making sure he survived the ground as well, because it is a big play if it was juggled from the ground. Yeah, good point. Hadn't thought of that.
Most definitely.
Perfect throw, but he's going down, so he does have to survive. And does the ball bounce back into his hands? Nope.
Well,
I can always tell when Ness knows. He just waves
video
the
shows that the receiver's knee was down with the ball inside the 1-yard line. It will be first and goal from inside the 1.
That is a tough call to overturn that. Can't see much. I mean, that's an inch. I don't see how you could be sure to overturn that call. Man.
Yeah.
That's taking control from the replay booth, if you ask me.
I'm with you. At any rate, first and goal, inches away from the goal line. Let's see if it's KJ Jefferson. And they get the touchdown from Johnson. Dominique Johnson scores. And we don't have a signal yet.
Oh, come on.
Really? What?
Well, I think he's clearly across
by a yard.
Hey, the replay official owes him one now, doesn't he?
I don't know, but
he was clearly across the line. Even Alabama
can't get any farther in there.
Even the Alabama defense thinks he's across the line.
Gee whiz.
Well, this thing's going to turn out right, in my opinion.
You want to bring Gene in this time? Seeing I'm
You're
over
doing a
here.
good job, Abbott.
Yeah.
Gene, you want to weigh in again?
You know, I'm a little bit shy right now with the clear and obvious statement I made on the previous, but
hey,
I got to be honest with you guys.
Gene,
yes,
welcome to our world.
This one appears clear and obvious that it's a score, for sure.
Okay, they just gave us the sign, Gene. Thanks.
1 out of 2 isn't bad, guys.
There you go. We're doing the best we can here.
I know Warren Thompson's not happy with this thing.
Dominique Johnson makes sure, even though our officials weren't quite so clear on it, but
well, what an answer by this Arkansas football team, I'll tell you that.
That's the main thing right now. Little in for the point after. Up and good. A 75-yard drive in 6 plays. A little over 2 minutes to get a 1-foot touchdown run.
Well, this reminds you of Tua. Win at the line of scrimmage and deliver the slant pass to an elite athlete. Remember, Tua did that for all those years. A great slant passer, and that one was perfect.
Right on the money.
Yep, let him on the run.
And then it's a foot race.
Mistakes turn at the end of half.
Still way too much time. Unless they score here, then it's not a big deal.
Comes now from Brian Robinson. It's only going to grow, as you said. He's the guy for the rest of the year.
Here he is again, a little hesitation in the hole. Robinson, a stop, and then is stopped. No gain.
To have a Heisman moment. Remember, it kind of fumbled it?
Yep.
Well, this guy is in the lead for the Heisman, and this is the highlight they're going to show. Watch him run around, and then at the last second draw 2 defenders, and like a great point guard, just pass it off. The second half, it goes from 17-14 to 31-14 without the football, basically.
Throw out to the tight end. Ooh. Toto put a big hit on Blake Kern right in the back, and one-on-one to the top. But it's 3rd and 1, and Jefferson's going to take it under center, it appears. Nope, now he backpedals. Play clock down to 1. Got to hurry. He's going to go that way and got it complete to Burks. Burks on the run. Traylon Burks, can he make it all the way? He can. Touchdown, Arkansas.
It's a gutsy call from this Arkansas offense. Do you take the easy first down throw at the bottom, or do you go one-on-one on the top? Hey, you need points. They're going to go back shoulder throw on 3rd and 1. And it's perfectly thrown, perfectly executed.
Then it's a foot race.
Yeah, then it's overrun by the safety that time.
Playing with a bad wing. An injured Hogg is a dangerous Hogg. 66 yards for the touchdown. Midway point of the 3rd quarter, Slade Bolden in motion. Throw is out. Jamison Williams will cut back inside and get cut down right there.
Force him inside to those linebackers. This time it was Hayden Henry, number 27, that cleaned it up.
3rd down and goal. Bryce Young looks left, looks right. Scrambles to his right. Runs out of time, maybe. Yes, he will. Way back at the 30.
Sometimes you got to live with these plays, okay? He's made a lot of good ones, and this time he has one of those sacks where the quarter, watch Nick on the bottom, puts his hands up, and you're going to talk to the head coach.
And he's hit another one from that spot.
No harm, no foul. Did it get over?
It did not. My mistake. I thought he got it.
Well, now the sack is huge. It was going right down middle, and no.
Oh, hit the crossbar, and no good. So that sack is a big one. From the 16, Young sacked. Just a 3-man rush on Bryce Young over the middle. Completes it, but it's going to be well short of the first half. Time of possession, 5 minutes more for Alabama. As Gary said, 5:41 in total offense. Here's a tough run by A.J. Green, who hasn't seen a lot of time in the backfield.
Right. They got, on this team, 5 different players have led the team in rush attempts over different games. They got a lot of guys that carry the football.
And Toto pulling and tugging, and even with that, it's a first down run. The light show at the end of the 3rd quarter, heading into the 4th quarter of the Home Depot SEC on CBS. Alabama at home, where they've won 60 of their last 62 games. And they've got a 13-point lead heading into the final stanza.
They run the stunt again.
Jefferson going deep. Burks has got it. First down.
So it takes just a little bit longer to run the stunt and get there. And Burks, who's been playing with an injury to his right shoulder the whole game, or right pec, goes up and makes another outstanding play. This time, was it Kool-Aid McKenzie that's in there?
It is.
Number one, yes.
That one's tipped, but still caught. And really close to a first down for Trey Knox.
That's that hybrid wide receiver tight end. He lines up in a tight end position. It's an RPO, and it was tapped by Turner that time, Dallas Turner, but not enough.
And now let's see if they have enough for the first down. Flag down.
On the offense, number 84 was not.
That'll drive the coach crazy. When you go hurry up, you don't want to go so fast that you go too fast for your own lineup and you make a mistake.
They call it on Warren Thompson, I think. Oh, yeah, he was backpedaling down there at the bottom.
Yep. And that's part the quarterback. You got to look around and make sure everybody's set, too.
So now, third down and 6 instead of third and 1.
Now you wonder, from this part of the field, does Kendall Briers think 4-down territory with this call?
Jefferson keeps it, but doesn't get much. Maybe 3. Dallas Turner again in on the hit.
He did a great job. Now inside, those guys kind of make a pile, but Dallas Turner plays his assignment.
You might have read Sam Pittman's lips. He just said, go for it.
You could almost tell from that play call that Kendall Briers knew he was going to go for it on 4th down.
Fourth down, and it's more like 4 than 3. Biggest play of the game so far for both teams.
Oh, another mistake.
And another flag.
False start on the offense, number 62. That's a 5-yard penalty, and it remains 4th down.
I don't think Stromberg, number 51, heard the snap count that time. That's where you got to have that silent count. If you depend on the center to hear the clap, because he didn't hear it.
Well, that's because there's about 105,000 people screaming and he didn't hear it. And that'll change things now. They'll bring out Cam Little. He's been money this year for a freshman.
Well, I wonder if this is into the wind a little bit. It doesn't look like a lot of wind, but that last one was short by Alabama.
From 50 for Little. And it's a fake. And it's a jump pass. And it's caught by Kern. And he's going to score. Touchdown, Arkansas. Are you kidding me?
What a play. What a catch. Look at Sam.
there's the smiling Sam we talked about earlier. Wow. Reed Bauer, the punter.
And our camera was on. It was right as if you were throwing it on that last play when we were going live. You could see him reach back and make the play. How about here? This one's almost as if you're doing it yourself. Reaches back, tips it to himself, and goes. What a play.
Second touchdown reception of the year for the tight end Kern on a great catch and another 75-yard drive.
You don't think they did those penalties on purpose, do you?
Just for a longer reception. 27-yard strike. And now it's Brian Robinson. No gain on this one. Hayden Henry.
You know it's going to be zone because they bumped a corner on the running back. Drop in zone. Yep.
And he drops it to the tight end, Latu. Still going. He lost the ball, and it's covered by Arkansas. Fumbled and picked up by Brown at the 1.
You know what zone? Hit him quickly in the zone right there. Latu going, struggling, and they rip it through and rip it off. I think it was Brown. Tarek Brown, number 21, that rips it out.
He covered it, too.
Yes, he did.
Arkansas with the ball and a chance to take the lead when we come back. 123 yards on 26 carries. I don't know if it's getting lighter or not.
Yeah, see, here's what happened. Those linebackers get those tackle for losses.
Version team in the SEC. Can they pick one up here? 3-man rush. Young loads it, rips it long. Touchdown. Jameson Williams.
Boy, what a read by Bryce Young. Bill O'Brien said Bryce Young might be the best I ever had at seeing the open guys because he's so small. At the beginning of this play, what a job, what a catch. I thought there was a free safety in the middle of the field. They go, no way he's going to go deep. But he stayed with the play. He knows it's just a 3-man rush when he sees those linebackers leave, and he stays with it.
The touchdown. That play is under review.
Here's another look. You see him airing it out long. I waited forever to say touchdown because I was waiting for the back judge to give me something.
Remember,
here's another look at the end of the play.
And remember, it's 3rd and long, so they should take a good look at this.
Gene Steratore is going to join us. Gene, what do you think?
Really, really close play, guys. And this is another play like the previous where you have a receiver going to the ground. He needs to survive the ground with possession of the football. The reverse angle look that we got, in my opinion, he has possession of the ball. Yes, it starts to move as he is falling, but I don't see him losing control of that ball. When it moves here as he begins to land, the right hand gets underneath of the football, or the left does, I'm sorry, and cradles it from hitting the ground. And I believe there is still possession there with that left hand underneath. Then the right hand on the nose, and he's controlling that. And I have that as a catch and a stands or confirm of the ruling on the field.
That's fantastic explanation there, Gene. The feet were in, the knees were in, then you got to see if there's more than just touching the ground. Does the ball move enough?
So again, we'll go to the replay official up here. Meanwhile, Bryce Young just waiting to see if that's his
and remember,
fifth
if
touchdown pass.
If it's overruled, it's most likely going to be a punt. They're out of field goal range with that illegal procedure penalty.
This one's taken a while, and it should because it's very, very important. Here's a call.
After the review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Jefferson down the middle, got it, complete, and a first down. Trey Knox made a big play there. We're down under 2 minutes. Jefferson steps up, fires far side. What a catch!
Oh, no.
Or was it?
Did he survive it?
Treylon Burks, who's caught just about everything thrown his way today.
Might be interference before he caught it.
Wow. Well, I mean, it comes out there, but.
Yep. I don't know who they're calling, if it's an offense or defensive pass
interference on the defense, number 14. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot.
That's who it was on, and that's who was covering Burks on the play. Brian Branch. Just as the ball's coming.
I don't know. 1:07 to go, no timeouts anymore. Jefferson to the corner of the end zone. Caught for the touchdown by Sanders.
Gotta love it. A running back out there. You got a linebacker on a running back. You might as well go to it. And he turns around and handles it.
This is a heck of a catch.
Absolutely. When your wide receivers make plays like that, you're happy. When your running backs do it, you go, man.
Come down to one play probably when we come back. There'll be an onside kick. If Alabama gets it, they're the West champs. Otherwise, we're going to have some kind of finish. And that's where it goes. Takes a big hop and goes out of bounds. And that will pretty much do it.
Watch Wilderness. He's got a guy at the front line blocks.
Whew.
And he did his job.
Well, Traylon Burks has been a trooper all day today, man. He's played hurt, and he's hurt again. A brilliant performance.
Brilliant performance.
And there's knee number one.
Coach, congratulations with that win. You're going to the SEC Championship, but today was not easy. What was the most important part of this win?
Well, I think that it was a win, so we're happy about that. We didn't play great on defense, which is an issue we got to get resolved. And we didn't finish drives in the red zone, which is another issue. You know, we fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. We take a sack. We miss a field goal. So we did a lot of things, gave them a fake field goal for a touchdown. So there's a lot of things that we can correct. All right, but look, these guys have played hard all year long. All right, it's tough in the SEC and it's tough in the West. So I knew they had a good team, and I knew this was going to be a tough game. So I'm proud of our players for the way they competed and how they finished.
Congratulations, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Heisman odds coming into the day. Stroud was behind Bryce Young. Kenneth Walker, you can boot out of there now with what he did on Saturday. But so Stroud planted his flag in the noon kickoff window. Wait till you see what Bryce Young did for a response in Alabama's game against Arkansas. It was a very, very competitive game, but it was also a very historic game for Bryce Young. Early on, connecting with John Mechie. It's America's virtual lock. They had the Tide minus 20.5. Mechie, big game. Crimson Tide up 10-0.
Yeah, huge game. 10 catches, 173 yards, and a touchdown.
98-yard touchdown drive for Alabama. Then Young. Boy, how good has Jameson Williams, the transfer, been?
How good is this throw? On the money,
like
double coverage. Jameson Williams, 190 yards and 3 touchdowns.
First player in Alabama history with 4 receiving touchdowns and 75-plus yards in a season. I mean, you look at it there. It was basically a handoff. Crimson Tide up 17-7. Bryce Young was not finished in his afternoon. It was only 17-14, so he needed to do it again. Here, Williams, 32 yards. It is all about the yak.
Yeah, and it's more than just route running. It's about what you do after you catch the ball, making defenders miss, taking great angles, finding the end zone.
287, 3 touchdowns for Young in the first half. It wasn't C.J. Stroud's 6, but he was on his way to a big game. Then, look at all the time Young has. Finally finds a wide open Christian Leary.
The offensive line for Alabama was much better in the second half. Young got sacked 4 times, hurried 10 times, but in the second half, the offensive line settled in and gave him time.
Yeah, in fact, we thought, oh, okay, here comes Alabama pulling away 31-14. But I tell you what, give Sam Pittman and Arkansas a lot of credit. KJ Jefferson, Traylon Burks did not go away quietly.
Yeah, give Traylon Burks a lot of credit. Every time we watched him, we were talking, we said, this looks like an NFL receiver.
66-yard touchdown. Walk me through this again. One-on-one matchup. Nobody can catch him. They stayed in the fight.
Traylon Burks is 6'3", 225, and he was too much to handle.
Fourth quarter. Fake field goal. We call it woo pig fake. Reed Bauer to Blake Kern for the touchdown.
Yeah, once again, special teams are the most momentum-shifting plays. Fake field goals change momentum. All of a sudden, Alabama's getting a little bit nervous.
Sammy Pittman loves it. Joe, what do you see here?
I see a one-handed catch, number one, which is a great play for the big fella, and then drags the defenders into the end zone. Arkansas is in this game.
You know what? I see an athlete at kicker and holder making that play happen. How about this catch by Williams?
Yeah, and how about the pass by Bryce Young? I mean, there was time after time after time. He made passes that made you just drop your jaw.
559 passing yards, second most in SEC history, most in Alabama history. Nick Saban, you got the win. You're headed to the SEC Championship.
Well, I think that it was a win, so we're happy about that. We didn't play great on defense, which is an issue we got to get resolved. And we didn't finish drives in the red zone, which is another issue. You know, we fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. We take a sack. We miss a field goal. So we did a lot of things, gave them a fake field goal for a touchdown. So there's a lot of things that we can correct. All right, but look, these guys have played hard all year long. All right, it's tough in the SEC and it's tough in the West. So I knew they had a good team, and I knew this was going to be a tough game. So I'm proud of our players for the way they competed and how they finished.
Went through the list of stuff, but I'm proud of you. School record for Bryce Young. He broke the 52-year-old mark of Scott Hunter. 484 yards in 1969 against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. I need to know more about Scott Hunter throwing for 484 yards in 1969.
We're going to start the Week 12 Saturday with number 2. Alabama hosting 21st ranked Arkansas, much improved Razorbacks, and on this particular day, they gave us another example of just how improved they are. This is a 14-0 Alabama team under Nick Saban against Arkansas. Bryce Young, John Mechie, 25 yards. Big pickup. This was just the start of things to come. Big plays in the passing game. Young, Mechie one more time.
It's pretty amazing today when you watch the Alabama receivers with the ball in their hands after the catch. A lot of yards today.
Young. Mechie, touchdown.
Yeah, one of the things we wanted to see coming into this game was could they have some explosive plays? Would the offensive line allow them to protect long enough to get the ball pushed down the field?
Yeah, that drive, Mechie, 3 catches totaling 7 yards. He had 173 receiving in the game. KJ Jefferson trailing Burks, who had a big day. Later, Jefferson, Burks, little stiff arm action into the end zone. This started to get away early, but again, Arkansas got back to within 3.
Yeah,
that was kind of a theme of the day.
Yeah, and Traylon Burks just showed a lot of what he's done all season, being tough. And then you've got this guy, Jameson Williams, is a track meet. Every single time he gets the ball, he's a chance to take it to the house. He was getting behind the secondary all day today, and this is just one of several we're going to see, Hondar.
Yes, indeed. 79 yards on that one. 2 minutes left in the half. Bama up 3. Young, Williams. I think you were alluding to something like this.
Yeah, that would be another one, Benjamin, right? This guy has come on the scene the last month, and he has opened the eyes of a lot of folks, especially the NFL scout.
This game, Dart, it seemed like multiple times Alabama was about to take control of it.
Yes,
but
it did.
Arkansas's poise and resiliency was one of the things that stood out to me the most.
Look, there's not a lot of teams that find themselves down 17 early in the third that make it as interesting as Arkansas did on this day, and there goes Burks again. 66 for that one. Hogs down 10 again. Fourth quarter, now down 13. 3rd and 6. Same duo. Burks had 8 catches, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just a big catch by a big-bodied receiver.
6'3", 220 plus pounds. I mean, he goes up for the football. It doesn't matter if you got 2 guys draped on him. He'll come down with it.
Hogs going forward on 4th and 3, but a false start makes it 4th and 8. Sam Pittman not happy. 4th and 9, let's call it. Arkansas lines up for a field goal. It's a fake. Reed Bauer, little jump pass. Wasn't pretty, but Blake Kern makes a great catch.
There were some coaches in this league today that showed intestinal fortitude. That dude was one of them.
Yeah, and it's a copycat league. We've seen a lot of jump passes over the last.
No doubt.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Tim Tebow, for starting that trend. Bryce Young to Slade Bowden, 27 yards. Bryce Young breaking an Alabama single-game record with 488 passing yards. He was not done. Young, by the way, Saturday stud, choice of Ben Watson. Passing yards, the category. Good call. Jameson Williams, touchdown, 3rd touchdown catch, 190 yards on the day for him. Young throws for 559. More on that in a moment. Bama up 14 after they go for 2. Then Jefferson to Rock Sanders. Jefferson threw 3 touchdowns and 326 yards. Within 7, onside kick for the Hogs. Why not? But it bounces out of bounds. Bama hangs on by a touchdown, wins the SEC West.
There's a lot of good things, and then there's a lot of things that we obviously need to fix, most of which we can fix. But I think the players have to be dedicated and determined to try to get it right so we can play better in the future. You know, we won the West today, so we have an opportunity now to play in the SEC championship game. And it was a difficult, playing in the West this year was very difficult. We won some close games. We won a close game today, which the resiliency of the players contribute to that. Their competitive spirit and how much it means to them contributes to that. But we do need to fix some of the things that we're not getting correct on the field.
Bama rolled up 671 yards of offense, and Young was the biggest part of that, obliterating an Alabama single-game passing record. Was held by Scott Hunter, 1969 against Auburn. The only player to pass for more yards in a game in SEC history than Young's 559 was Mississippi State's KJ Costello in the opener against LSU. Remember the shocker last year. He also, by the way, Bryce Young, joins Tua as the only Alabama quarterbacks with back-to-back 5-touchdown pass games. He just continues to roll 38 touchdowns and big play after big play in this one.
Yeah, it was a Bryce Young show. I mean, he eviscerated this secondary. And I'm going to tell you this, to put it in context, Arkansas was giving up 195 yards a game in the air. He threw for 559 today. But you know what's so impressive about him, guys? Sometimes he looks like Johnny Manziel. He's got that type of elusiveness. He distributes the ball all over the field. He hits the tight ends. He hits the running backs. Now you're starting to see the explosive pass game, right? his accuracy when he's on the run. And when he's got to get first downs and sometimes it's not there, he finds a way to keep the ball himself to keep the chains moving. So right now this offense, to me, with him at the helm, it's operating at an extremely high national champion type level offensively. And he's the reason. And he brings confidence to these receivers. But more than anything, CD, and I know you like this, he puts the ball right where he needs to so these guys can get yards after the catch. That was what was so impressive to me.
Yeah, you're right about that. And Bryce Young has been fantastic. We've talked an awful lot about that this year. But the quarterback can only do as much as what his receivers do. And this was a year that I thought Alabama was going to take a big step back offensively, not because they were bad, but because they were young and they were in the shadow of that 2020 offense that was one of the historically best offenses in the history of college football. Well, they've evolved. Bill O'Brien has evolved with those guys. Bryce Young has evolved. But maybe most importantly, the explosiveness of Jameson Williams and John Mechie having to play in the shadow of Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. What they've become today set the single career record for duo, 363 yards combined for Alabama. And the history of those wide receivers that have played at Alabama is remarkable.
There's going to be a big fight on a television over here in the studio that we might keep an eye on later, right? There's going to be big punch after big punch, which Alabama threw big punch after big punch. Arkansas showed a ton, did they not, Benjamin, by answering virtually every big punch with one of their own.
They definitely did. And this is an Arkansas team that, coming into this season, we knew they had the number one strength of schedule. So it was going to be a tough year for them. And what Sam Pittman has done in building that culture, they had some remarkable wins, some signature wins against A&M and Texas. But when you look at this game, look, the last two seasons, they've been outscored 100 points to 10 by Alabama. Then they come out here today and lose by a score of 35-42. And looking at KJ Jefferson, man throws for 3 touchdowns. He's running the ball. You like those comparison coaches, like a guy you coach named Cam Newton. He's running the ball that way. You got Treylon Burks, who has 10 touchdowns on the season. He's only the 5th player in Arkansas history to have that distinction. But the way that they played, their resiliency has been on display. I think that the program took a step forward, even though it was a loss against Alabama.
You don't like moral victories, but it certainly feels like one, right? I mean, nobody thought Arkansas was going to go in and win the game. They probably did.
He's building a foundation to last.
Yeah.
You can see it every week.
No doubt about it.